Okay, I think we're recording. This is the second Greek lesson. We're going to be looking at lessons 3 and 4 in the Machen McCartney book. And I'm going to try to see if I can get this to work this time. I'm a little technical challenged, so we'll begin. I'm going to share the screen, and I'm going to pull this up. Excellent. And now we're going to make it bigger. Can I make it bigger? Let's drag it down a little bit. Good. And make it bigger. Aha. This might be working. Let's go ahead and start with lesson 3. Ordinarily, I introduce lesson 4 first and then go back and go through lesson 3. But let me go through lesson 3. We've gone through it already. This is the one where we've gone through the verbs, the forms of the verbs, but let's just do a quick review. Blepo, I see. Gnosko, I know. Grapho, I write. Didasko, I teach. Echo, I have. Lambano, I take or I receive. And again, context makes the thing there, makes the which one it is. Lego, I say. Luo, I loose or I destroy. The paradigm we have for luo is luo, I loose, or I am loosing. And he makes a point about it being the progressive tense. Lues, you, singular, loose, thou looseth, loosest. You, singular, loose. Lue, he, she, or it, looses. Luomen, we loose. Luete, you, plural, loose. Luusi. And this is the paradigm to memorize. This is the paradigm that is will be the quiz. I think we're going to do the quiz now as the letters themselves, and I do hope you have those under your belt. We've gone through this, and then again, the parsing, just quickly. You want to have its tense. All of our things are going to be present tense or progressive tense for right now. Voice, active, passive, or it could be reflexive, or middle is what we'll call them. But we're all just going to have active. So it's going to be present, active, indicative. That's what it is. It's not a command form or a conditional form. And then, is it first, second, or third person? Is it singular or plural? And is it, what's the root? That's the other. So these are the roots. It's going to be the present, active, indicative, first person singular. That's the root form that you'll find in the dictionary, a lexicon. And so we'll have these. Let me go ahead and move to this was what you should have done. I'm going to go ahead and go over this, and this should already be written out. Blepes, okay, that's blepo as I see. Blepes is you singular, so you see. Gnoskes, let's see, gnosko is I know, but this is the ace form, so it's you know. Lambanes, lambano is I take, I receive. Lambanes, you singular, receive. So that's what you should have written there. Graphe, this is grapho as I write. Graphe would be he writes. Eke, he has. Lege, he says. And then for number 3, lue, he looses. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. I should probably have a button to stop that, shouldn't I? You get it live, as it were. Didaske is he or she teaches. Blepe, she or he sees. Lambanomen, the omen is the we form. We receive. Echomen, we have. Gnoskomen, we know. Blepete, that's you plural. So it's you or y'all see. Legete, y'all say. Graphete, y'all write. Or yins, or you plural. Didascusi, they teach. Lambanusi, they receive. Luusi, they loose. Number 7, Gnoskete, you, or yins, know, y'all know. Gnoskes, you, singular, know. Gnoskomen, you, I'm sorry, we know. We plural, no. I got in the rhythm there. Blepomen, we see. Didascusi, they teach. Lege, he says. And then number 9 is ekes, you, singular, have. Blepusi, they see. Lambanomen, we receive. Okay, lambanomen. Your assignment for next week is to actually do the reverse translating here. So we are knowing. Well, okay, what's the one for know? Gnosko. And we are knowing would be gnoskomen. You have to write it out. Write it out correctly. You've got the forms to do that. We see. Let's see, blepo is the see, I see. So blepomen. We are seeing. That's also blepomen, same thing. They are loosing. Okay, luo is loose, but it's luusi. They loose, also luusi. He looses, lue. He is loosing, lue. You, plural, have, ekate. You, singular, know, gnoske. I am taking, it's lambano. We know, okay, remember what's know, gnosko? So it'd be gnoskomen. They say, Lego, right? That's the I say. So it's legusi. She has, eke. We are writing, graphomen. They see, lepusi. It says, lege. He writes, graphe. She receives, lampane. Now you'll have to write all these out. You can go back and listen to this, and it will help you when you do it, but that's for your assignment next time. Let's look at lesson 4. Now I'm going to introduce lesson 4. This is the nouns. There are 3 declensions of nouns. I'm sorry. Three different groups. The second declension we're starting with. The first declension will be next. And then the third declension will be later. It's kind of a hodgepodge. It's not as easy as the first 2, but a lot of our great words are in the first 2. The second declension is known by the O, the omicron, and omega. Most of them are masculine, but not all. Please don't think that second declension means masculine and first declension means feminine. That's the way most of them are. The A or alpha or eta is the first declension theme vowel. So you'll get that one when we get to it, but let's pay attention here. There are some, you have to learn if it's feminine or masculine or neuter. That's the third. In order to learn that, you all are going to learn, you're going to learn the word like adelphos, remember like brother, Philadelphia, brotherly love or love of brother. Adelphos is brother, and the accent's on the end. It's a smooth breathing, adelphos, ho. And so when you learn it, learn adelphos, ho. That's a rough breathing here on the omicron. That ho is the. It's the nominative masculine the. So when you learn that it has a ho after it, all you're doing is remembering or knowing that it's the masculine form. So adelphos, ho. Anthropos, ho. Accents on the first syllable there. Anthropos, ho. That's a man, but it's not a male. It's a man, a human, a person. Plural, which is anthropoi, well, we'll get into those, would be men or people. Persons, people. Apostolos. Apostolos. Do try to remember the breathing marks, because that's going to help you as you say it. And then also the accents where they are. And that becomes more important with the nouns because the accent will tend to stay right where it's supposed to, as opposed to the verbs where they go as far to the front of the word as the laws will allow. Apostolos, that sounds like the word apostle. In fact, where do we get our word apostle from? Right there. Apostolos, ho, an apostle. Doulos, ho. Doulos, ho, a slave. That is a circumflex over the upsilon, and the omicron upsilon is a diphthong. It's one sound, and it's treated as one syllable. This is also masculine. Could be translated as slave or a servant. I will say this: the word slave or bondservant or servant is probably better. Bondservant's probably the best. It is a person who is tied to the master, but is not a chattel slave. Like this person's not treated like property. This person's treated like a person because they are a person. There is a word in Revelation that's used towards people who are treated like chattel slaves, which is what the slavery was in this country. So I do like bondservant, probably is a good one for that, or servant. Slave's fine too. Doron, toe. Doron, toe. Here over the omega, it's a circumflex, and it ends not in a sigma as all these others did, right? Omicron sigma. This is Omicron nu. And you'll note here, rather than a ho, which means it's masculine, it's got a toe with a tav, tau. I'm going to get my Hebrews and my Greek mixed up here. Anyway, the tau, yeah, and omicron, and then the accent here. There's no accent on the ho, you noticed. And of course, there's no breathing mark because it begins with a tau. It's a gift. This is a neuter word. Those will have a slightly different paradigm. Thanatos, ho, death, a death. Thanatos, Thanos in the Marvel movies, if you saw that, he was a bad dude and like death was around him. If that helps you, Thanatos. Percy Walker had a book called The Thanatos Syndrome, the death syndrome. I read that a while back. Chiron. Now that's a rough breathing. It's not a diphthong because the breathing mark is on the iota. So Chiron. I do hope we are recording all this. I think we are. Let me just stop share a second. And okay, we are recording. Otherwise, I'd have to start all this over. We're going to go share the screen again. We're going to go back to where we were and share. I hope this is it. Yes, here we go. I am now sharing. Sharing is caring. Okay, Thanatos. Chiron, toe, a temple. Everything's fine at the temple. Everything's fine from here on in. Chiron, here on in. Temple, fine. If that helps, that'll help. Chi. Chi is a conjunction. It is a very common word. It means and. It also could mean even, or it could mean also, but we'll get into those later. Most of the time, they're going to translate it as and for right now. Logos. Ho, a word. Well, one you should probably know. Nomos, ho, a law. Here, if you've heard of what antinomian is, antinomian means against the law. That's a heresy that says, I don't have to, doesn't matter what I do, I can do anything I want, I'll be saved because Jesus saves me. No. We are saved not to do evil, we're saved to do righteousness. Okay. Also, the word Deuteronomy. Deuter means two, second, and nomos means law. So it's the second telling of the law. By the way, the Old Testament books there, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy's Greek word. These are Greek words, not numbers, but anyway. Oikos, whole. We talked about that before. It's the house of yogurt, oikos. And again, it's a diphthong there, and you have the circumflex, and it's a smooth breathing. So far, we just had the one rough breathing, I think, for that. Huios, oh, there's another rough breathing. Huios, ho, a son. Huios. We're learning the articles, so you know if it's masculine or neuter in this case. There is no indefinite article in Greek. There is no or an. You just put it in if you need it. So adelphos does not mean the brother, it means a brother. Adelphoi means brothers, plural. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we can bring this up a little. Okay, great. We're going to bring this one down, stop share. And now we're going to share, I hope I can make this happen. This one over here, lesson 3 and one more page. And this should be it here. Let's just try it. And I should be able to go to here. Is this it? This is not it. Okay. And no, please, not now. Thank you. We're going to go stop share. And we're going to do a new share. And we should be able to go here. Now let's share. And this, here we go. Click. Good. And now we're going to have to take this, whoopsie, just move away. And I can do what I need to do. I'm sharing. Good, good, good. There. Yay. Lesson 4. We've already started with lesson 4. Wonderful. Let me go up to here to the next page. And I'm learning how to do this slowly. And I'm getting other problems here. All right. The noun has gender. That it's going to have whatever gender it is. It's masculine, feminine, or neuter, and you learn that from the very beginning. That's what's in the dictionary. It has number. It's going to be singular or plural. We're used to that. It also has case. Okay. Case tells you what it does in the sentence. There are 4 cases we're going to look at now. They are nominative, genitive, dative, and accusative. And this is the paradigm you have to learn. And we're going to use logos for the first paradigm word here. Logos. It ends with the Omicron sigma. That's the ending. That means it's going to be nominative singular when it's the second declension. Logu is the genitive of a word. We'll go through all these here in a moment. Logo. This is an omega, but notice at the bottom, there's this tiny little, I hope you can see it better in your book. It's a tiny iota, a little iota. They call that a iota subscript. You must have that on there. If you're writing this as a paradigm for a quiz, logos, logu, logo, if you don't have that on, it will be wrong. I'm going to be a lot more forgiving with accents. Do your best on accents. And in fact, for all these, it's just on the first syllable, just an acute on the first syllable for logos. Logon, that has a new on the end. That's the accusative. Logoi, nominative, plural. Logon. Now it's an omega new. It might sound a lot like logon. Logon. It's still the accents on the first syllable, and it's the own. Slightly longer said if you want to say it, but remember that's the omega. Logos, logos. This is the dative plural. Logos, logos. That is accusative plural. Now, what are these things? Okay, let's take a look here. I hope I'm not occluding anything. The stem is the part that the other endings get added to let you know what its form is, what is its case endings. And he'll say properly that it's logo, but for us, let's just log the lambda, omicron, gamma, those three, and then the ending for the nominative singular, os, omicron sigma. For the genitive, u, micro o, omicron, upsilon. For the dative, omega, iota subscript, and they both have to be there. And then for the accusative, omicron nu. Okay. The nominative case. Now, what is that? It's the subject of the sentence. In English, we have the subject is the first thing, then you have the verb, and then you have the object. John throws a ball. John, subject, throws, verb, ball. The thing that was thrown, they call it the object. So the nominative, it's going to be, in the nominative case, that's the subject. So in this sentence here, see if my little pointer's moving. Apostolos gnoske. An apostle knows. Right? He knows, and they agree with each other. This is singular, an apostle, gnoske. That's he sees, but you wouldn't say an apostle he sees. You just say an apostle sees. The nominative case specifies that it's the subject, so you don't need the pronoun. You put the word in there. So don't translate it as an apostle he knows, but just an apostle knows. So how do you know that apostle is the subject? Because it's got that ending. It's the nominative case ending. The accusative case, and that's the fourth one here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's easier to think of first. It's the direct object. So blepo, logon. Blepo is I see. That's the verb. What's the subject? I. It's actually included in here. I don't need to have another word for that. So I see logon, a word. What's being seen? The word. That's a direct object in English. It's the accusative form. The genitive case expresses various kinds of relationships. Possession, like it's my book, the book of me. Source, the book from me. Separation. It also could be used, well, let's see. Here. Logoi, that's words. Apostolou means words of an apostle or an apostle's words. Here, this is singular genitive, so it's an apostle. Logoi, that's plural. See the plural over here? That's in the nominative case. No, that's not a full sentence. That's just a little phrase. There's other uses for the genitive. We'll talk about that. The dative case is also a relationship instrumentality. They call it the dative of means. We'll get into that later. But I like to think of it as an indirect object, right? Lego, logon, apostolois. Lego is, I say. Logon, a word. I say a word. That's the accusative case. So what's being said? A word. Apostolois, well, that's to whom it's being said. That's like the indirect object. Your direct object is what you're doing with the verb's doing, and then the indirect object is to whom. So lego, logon apostolois is I say a word to apostles. Now that's your basic declension, and you have to learn it. Logos, logo, logo, logon, logoi, logon, logois, logos. How do you get it in there? It's the old boring method. You just write it and write it and write it and say it and say it and say it and chant it in your sleep, or not. But flashcards, I suppose. Yeah, but get it in your head. This flashcards are good for they're good for vocabulary, but you're going to drill with vocabulary so much, and we pick them up as we go. Okay. Doron, toe, that's neuter. Its paradigm's going to be a little different. It's similar, but different. Here's its paradigm. Doron, doru, doro, doron, dora, doron, dorois, dora. Now, if you look at this, the Omicron upsilon, well, that's the same as this one here, right? And the omega with the iota subscript, it's the same here. So those forms are the same on the genitive. Interesting. What about the plural? Doron, well, that's also omega nu. That's the same. Dorois, that's ois, it's the same. So once you've learned the first one here, this one is very similar on the genitive and the dative, the two on the inside. Okay. What's different then is your lexical form doron, that's nominative singular, but this is the way neuter words work. The nominative singular and the accusative singular are going to be the same, doron, doron. The plural, nominative plural, and the plural accusative are going to be the same as well, dora, dora. So really, all you're learning, you've already learned the forms from the earlier one here, from logos. You have to learn doron, and since that's the word you're given, accusative singular is going to be the same. The plural, dora, and dora. So these are the same too, right? Nominative and accusative singular are the same. Nominative and accusative plural are the same. Order of words. Ordinarily, it's just like English: subject, verb, object. However, you can change up the order and still understand, because it's the endings, not the order, that tells you what's doing what, where, all that sort of thing. Let's look at our examples. The sentence, an apostle says a word, in Greek is normally apostolos lege logon. Apostolos, that's in the nominative, that's the subject. Lege, that's your verb, find your verb. Logon, that's accusative. So an apostle says a word. But if you'd say lege apostolos logon, you would translate that as an apostle says a word. You translate it the same way as the other. Why? Because the verb's the same, and apostolos is in the nominative form. It's the subject. Or this one here, logon lege apostolos. That's an apostle says a word. You know, you don't reverse it like Yoda. A word says an apostle. No. Because it's the ending that tells you what the subject is, and in English we put the subject first, unless if you get my Star Wars, right? Yeah. Okay, English translation is observed by the endings, not the order. One more cute little thing we're going to see now and again is the movable nu. Sometimes they put a nu on the end of a word. If you have the usi, sometimes they'll put a nu on the end of it, usin. If it's at the end of the sentence, or if the next word begins with a vowel, it's more common, not always. You don't have to put it on there ever if you don't want to when you're doing a assignment, but you'll see it. Don't be thrown. Don't be thrown. So, blepusin apostolus. Well, blepusi is what we're used to. That's they see, but sometimes there's this little extra nu that they put in there. Blepusin, it's not a part of the paradigm. It's part of the flow of the words. Blepusin apostolus, but it can occur anywhere. This is they see apostles, and that's plural. So either luusi doulos or luusin doulos is correct. Don't think it happens all the time. That's all that says. I want to talk a little bit about accents. Again, you're going to learn these, and I'm not going to be as strict on them right away. You're going to see how they go, and then when I start to clamp down, you need to clamp down too. But again, there's some leeway. The rule for verbs is when the accent is, you push it as far forward in the word as possible. If the rules will let you put it on the antepenult, that's not the last or the next to last, it's the next to the next to last. If it'll let you do that, then that's where it goes. For nouns, you look at where it is in its lexical form, right? Adelphos, last syllable, that's where it should be then. Anthropos, first syllable, that's where it's going to be, unless the rules make it so that you have to change. Okay, let's go see the rules here. Here's some example. The noun logos. Well, you have to learn that it's logos. It could be either, but you learn because you've learned that's what it is. Other forms, it's going to be the same. It's a first syllable in all of them because it'll do that. But if you take a noun like oikos, various forms being after the analogy for, and considerations for logos still hold, because you've only have two syllables. And the rules, it's going to stay right there. It's actually going to change a little bit, but that's another form. There is, if you've got oikos, oiku, oiko, oikon, oikoi, oikon, oikos, and oikus. It's changing here because when the ultimate is long and the accent's on the penult, it'll have to be changed to acute. That's one of the rules. If you look at, but it stayed in the same place at least. In the case of anthropos, the accent is always going to try to get back to that first syllable. However, when you have some of the other forms that have a long last syllable, it can't be back on the antepenult. It has to move forward at least one. So this is what we have here. Anthropos is fine, but anthropu, it moved because the omicron upsilon is long. Anthropo, well, that omega is long anyway, and the omega subscript iota is really long in the rules, right? So it has to go anthropo. Anthropon, well, omicron is new, that's a short syllable. Anthropoi, okay, now just hang on a second. That is a diphthong, the omicron iota. And you think, well, that should be long, right? No, not for the accents. It's not considered long. If it would be omicron iota stigma, that is considered long. So just these two things, you'll get the alpha iota, which is the plural nominative form in the first declension, and the omicron iota, which is the plural nominative form in the second declension. Those two won't be considered long. I know, scratching your head saying, huh, we'll get to it. That's why I'm not going to be too harsh, or I'll be more lenient on the accents. Anthropon, well, that's long, so it has to move up. Anthropois, that's long, has to move up. Anthropus, that's long, so it has to move up. So when the last syllable is long, the you can only have it on the last two syllables, and so it has to move forward. Doulos, it's similar. It's actually, sorry, just two. It's just two syllables. Now, let's take a look at huios. We're going to get some differences here. Huios means son. Huiu, huio, huion. Huioi, huion, huiois, huius. Now, according to the rules, this should be a circumflex, but it's not. However, here, this is the way we work it. For words like this one, the genitive and the dative are going to have, for both singular and plural, are going to have the circumflex. And the nominative and accusative, both singular and plural, are going to have the acute. We'll talk about that more. I want to go through some of your exercises. Learn the words as part of your assignment. Learn the paradigms. And frankly, you should go ahead and learn all of them, particularly the logos and the doron, because they're going to be a quiz. But the huios is a good one to know as well. I'm going to go through these. You need to write them down. I'll just do a few, but you sound them out. Adelphos, blepe, anthropon. Well, I think we've already seen this already. But adelphos, well, that's brother. We looked it up. What's the ending? It's the os. Well, that's the nominative, so it's the subject. Blepe, that's a verb. That was from last time. We don't forget these. We keep everything going. It's cumulative. A brother, he sees anthropon, a man. A person? Yeah, that's fine. A brother sees a person. So you write that down. Get a little book, little notebook. If you're using loose paper, keep them so they're kind of together. We can see them. I get to check them. Because that's what we're going to do in class. Doulos, graphe, logos. Doulos, sorry, I said that wrong. Doulos, graphe, logos. Doulos, that's a servant. That's the nominative singular. Graphe, he writes. A servant writes. Logos, logos, that's words. That's the accusative. Let's look at another one here. Apostoloi, that's apostles, plural. That's in the, if you look at back, that's going to be the nominative case. So they're the subject. Apostles, didaskusin, they are teaching. Anthropon, a man. Apostles are teaching a man. That's singular. Okay. Apostoloi, luusi, doulos. Apostles are loosing servants. Better than destroying servants, such thing. Yeah. I want you to go ahead and do all these. Go through them. You do the same thing. What you do is look at the word, find its ending. That's going to be your subject. Look at this one here. That's going to be the verb. And then dora. Oh, dora. That's a neuter word. It ends in an alpha. You might remember that that's plural. So a servant receives gifts. Let's look at number 20. Huioi, apostolon, legusi, logos, kai, luusi, doulos. Whoa, that's a lot going on there. Sons of apostles. That's the genitive. So apostles, plural. Sons, legusi, they are saying, logos, words, kai, and luusi, and are loosing, doulos, servants. So how would you say that? Sons of apostles are saying words and loosing servants or slaves. Let's do 19 as well. Graphe, apostolos, nomon, kai, lege, logos, huios, doulou. Okay, now this is a compound sentence. We've got, look at the verbs here. Graphe is he writes, kai, and lege, he says. So let's look at the first part. Graphi, who's writing? Apostolos, an apostle. An apostle is writing a law, nomon, and is saying, we're figuring it's the apostles, that's the only other subject, right, in this compound. So then the apostle is saying words to sons of a servant, right? This is singular, of a servant, sons. That's to them. Oh, that's fun. Let's do another one. Adelphoi, because when they get to the end, they get more complicated. Might as well get a little help here. Adelphoi, kai, douloi, genoskusin, kai, belepusin, hiera, kai, dora. This is a compound. Adelphoi, well, that's the subject. Kai, douloi, that's also a subject. So it's brothers and servants, gnosusin, know, kai, and blepusin, see. So the brothers and servants know and see. Well, what do they know and see? Hiera, temples. Kai, dora, gifts. They know gifts, they see gifts. They know temples, they see temples. So in English, brothers and servants know and see temples and gifts. I do all of those, write them all down. You also have the writing out the Greek, the English to Greek from lesson 3. Stop share. Maybe I can get this done and send to you. If you have some questions, this may be more helpful than all the wildness, the craziness that will go on in the class. But please send them to me, and we'll make it work. Lord bless you. How do we stop? Stop recording.